What's up, everyone? So, today we're going to be tackling Ascendant Lord in the 10th house. And what happens when your Ascendant Lord goes into the 10th house? And what do I mean by Ascendant and Lord? Well, Ascendant is the very first house of your horoscope, your personal horoscope. It is the sign that was rising from the eastern horizon at the time you were coming out from the womb. That became your Ascendant sign and your first house. The lord of that sign is what I'm talking about. Like Aries is ruled by Mars, so Mars becomes the lord of Aries. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter becomes the lord of Sagittarius. So when that lord, whatever your ascendant is, when that lord, that planet is in the 10th house, what happens? And this is probably going to be one of the easier videos that I've done so far. Why? Because although many planets have different personality, like as in like different planets have different personalities, and when they're in a certain house they give different results. Okay, same thing with the 10th house. Depending upon who's your ascendant lord in the 10th house, it's going to have results related to that effect. But the thing is, all planets do well in the 10th house. Okay, all planets do well in the 10th house, even the planets that lose their directional strength, like Venus and Moon, gain their directional strength at night in the 4th house. But the 10th house is the house that is at noon time. That's always the 10th house, directly above you in the sky. So it's a house that everybody sees. This is why it's known as a house of fame, house of authority and king, because you look up to the king. It's a house of your status, because your status brings you up in life, meaning that you go higher towards the sky. So that's the 10th house. 10th house is your career, but mainly your status regarding your career. How well will you do in your career? What will you get a promotion or not? Will you get a good promotion, bad promotion is related to the 10th house. Okay, but depending upon different planets, they'll either do neutral effects or very good effects. Okay, the only time a planet gives really bad results in the 10th house is if that planet is receiving malefic aspects of natural malefic planets like Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, and Mars, or when that planet is in the axis of Rahu and Ketu, especially Ketu. Ketu is the sudden ups and downs. Ketu is detachment. So when Ketu is in the 10th house, it detaches you from success, from rise in life. Unless there are some other positive yoga occurring, then Ketu can actually give you rise in life. All of these things have to go into play. These are very minute things that you look. You can't just go on your sun sign and say what the person's going to be in their life. That's not even like 5% of the whole game. So let's say if like Mars rules your ascendant. Okay, like for Aries ascendant, I'll give an example. Mars goes into the 10th house. Mars becomes exalted because as an Aries ascendant, the 10th house is ruled by the 10th zodiac sign, which is Capricorn. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. Okay, so when Mars goes into the Capricorn, the person have the strongest will and the strength to go and achieve their professional goals. They have the fighting ability to go out there and play dirty and do whatever they have to gain success in professional life. Now, you can be an engineer, a lawyer, a policeman, a soldier, a fighter with Mars. The career aspect is a bit more complicated than to just tell you what planet. And a lot of people have like 4 planets in the 10th house, or somebody has Mars in the 10th house, yet they're like yogis. They're not policemen, or they're not fighters or anything. So career is different. 10th house gives an indication of that, but the planets in there really tell you, are you going to drive towards that success or not? Okay, if Venus is in the 10th house, Venus shows that you will have a very soothing and sensual reputation out in the world, in the professional world. You will not be known as somebody who's a bad guy. You won't be known as somebody who's very like controlling and powerful. You'll be known as somebody who's very compassionate, who is able to adjust, and who has a sound relationship with their colleagues. Okay, because every planet is out in the sky, out in the brightest sky. So you are being looked down by everybody else. So when Venus is in the 10th house, these people dress up very professionally. They want to look good when they go out in a business meeting or a job interview or everyday work life, because they want to give that Venus energy. If Moon becomes your 10th house, if Moon is in the 10th house as the Ascendant Lord, that means your entire So what happens when your Ascendant Lord is in the 10th house? Okay. And what happens is that Ascendant Lord is a part of your personality. It is your health, your personality, your life being, your vitality. Ascendant Lord's placement in a certain house shows where your majority of the focus of life will be. Okay. So like some people are like very home oriented. They want to have a home business. They want to live in the private places. They're not concerned about the career. If they could have $1 million, they will leave everything. Okay. Some people love fighting with other people their entire life. Their whole life is about being in conflict with other people. So same scenario can have when Ascendant Lord is in the 10th house. 10th house is a house of your profession, meaning your status, how well your status is in life, your reputation, how good or bad your ups and downs in career will be. Will you keep rising up and up, or will you keep going down and down, or will it be always up and down, up and down, up and down? Ooh, I made a crazy snake here. Okay, I'm stupid. But that's what 10th house is. 10th house is a house of your father. It shows your relationship with the father. Because 4th house is the mother, so directly opposite to the mother is the father. 10th house represents government. Things related to government, things related to leadership, authority, your bosses. So all of these things can be seen from the 10th house. So depending upon what your ascendant is, it's going to have quite a different impact on the 10th house. However, one thing I will say is that all planets do well in 10th house. Even the planets who lose their directional strength in the 10th house, like night planets, like Moon and Venus, gain their strength at night in the 4th house. But even if they're in the 10th house, they're powerful. Why? Because every planet is in this three-dimensional realm, meaning that every planet loves being appraised, loves being applauded to, and loves being loved by other people. So 10th house is that directly house above you in the sky. In the noon time when the sun comes up, that's the 10th house. So between 11:30 and 1:30, sun is in the 10th house. The most visible house in the world, because you always look up. Everybody driving is looking at the sky. Everybody walking will always look at the sky. So it's that top of the house, top of the sky, area. So all planets do well in there. Okay. But let's say if Mars is in the 10th house. Mars is what? As the Ascendant Lord. Mars as the Ascendant Lord is your fighting ability. It's your willpower, your energy, your competitive behavior. That's what Mars is. So when Mars is in the Ascendant, as the Ascendant Lord, your entire life focus, first of all, as the Ascendant Lord in the 10th house, is that you're always going to be about the professional life. You're always going to be sunk into your reputation, your status, your raises, your bonuses. You're always about the career. It's like you're married to the career. So when Mars goes there, Mars shows that you have the willpower, the energy, and the driving force, because like for Aries ascendant, Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn. So that shows this person has a fighting ability, and they have the most. They don't have the fighting ability where they will cheat someone. They have the fighting ability that they will go out and win the victory according to the rules. But they will go out there and they will do that. They're very competitive when they go into the professional sphere. They're all about, okay, who do I need to see here so I can climb up in the ladder of corporation or whatever. Even an athlete. Mars can represent an athlete, a fighter, a cop, as in a policeman, a soldier, a lawyer, a criminal lawyer, and Mars can also represent a criminal himself, okay, if Mars is badly aspected in the 10th house. But it shows that your entire life force is about competitive behavior. And it's all about, winning that battle. You're very forceful when it comes to anything that is to do with professional life. Okay, when Venus, let's say Venus goes into the 10th house, it shows that your entire life focus again is in the 10th house, meaning your career. So what happens is Venus is a soft, sensual planet. Your reputation is not like Mars in the world. Your reputation is like, oh man, here comes that guy again. I hate this boss. This guy is way too tough, way too hard. Your reputation will be like, hey, I have a good relationship with my boss. You will have a good relationship with the colleagues. You'll have a very soft reputation in the professional sphere. You'll be very sensual in your way of creating relationships. You'll have very professional relationships. Venus represents your wife as a man. And for women too, it represents a significator of your marriage. So it shows that you can meet your wife in a professional field, meaning your career. But it also shows, okay, is that you can be married to your career. You form a relationship more with your career than your spouse, unless your spouse works with you. You know, like how two attorneys work together, two lawyers work together, because the fact they're all about the brains. They're all about, hey, that a personality. How can I grow my assets? Well, if I marry another dentist, we can double our income. If I marry another lawyer, I can double our income. If I can marry another doctor, I'll double my income. So what happens is they're married to their career more than their wife. It's just that's the illusion that they give because of the fact they have to live with that person. But mainly they turn their marriage into a business. And that's where they feel that comfort. These people are the ones who really would make sure that they are fit well, they're presenting themselves well visually, because as a Venus ascendant lord, Venus is all about beauty. So they want to look beautiful out in the professional life. They're the one who will have the iron pants and all the wrinkleless shirt always. So Venus can show this kind of a person, but Venus is a creative planet also. Venus is about imagination, artistry, acting, painting. So you can have that career, but that also depends on the other factors, which I can't go in now. Otherwise, this will be a 2-hour video. So 10th ascendant lord in the 10th house doesn't mean that that planet will be the kind of career you'll do. No, it shows the reputation you may have in that professional sphere. Okay, so like for Taurus ascendant, Venus is in the sign of Aquarius in the 10th house, in her friendly sign, because Saturn and Venus are best friends. So it shows a very beautiful relationship with the people. You want to be working with large organizations and be in the marketplace and going out there and making your money so you can feed yourself, as in your sensual pleasures. Your pleasures of fine dining and food are like exemplified by this. Moon rules your 10th house as the ascendant lord. Moon is like a mother. Moon shows like your mother is represented by the moon. So when moon goes in the 10th house, that means it's in the sign of Aries, in the sign of Mars, harsh place for the moon. But it shows that somebody who is not very emotional up here. They're all about that, hey, let's go, let's do it. I can fight, I can do this. They're very unemotional, and very unemotional relationship with the mother as well, where the father becomes the mother for the native. When moon is in the 10th house, in the house of father, it shows that the person's father became the mother for them. It shows you can work for local governments, because moon represents local governments, sun represents the federal government, the major government, like in India they say Kendra Sarkar. So as a moon in the ascendant, in the 10th house, you can show you have enough care for the people where you can go into politics. You can go into nursing, you can go into like milk industry, female products related to mother. But mainly what it shows that your personality is going to be the one who always wants to nurture their employees, always wants to nurture their colleagues. They become that motherly figure. But since it's in the sign of Aries, it becomes that mother, like that Italian mother with a loud mouth. Okay, if sun goes into the 10th house as a ascendant lord, sun is the strongest in the 10th house. It says Digbala, directional strength. Sun is visible in noon to everybody. Okay, so what it shows is that this person is going to be very visible in their career. And since they're in the sign of Taurus as the Leo ascendant, it can show somebody who can go into finance, who can go into acting and artistry and all kinds of creative careers, or they can go into government if Venus also is in the 10th house with Sun, or Venus aspects Sun from the 4th house, because 4th house is about people of the homelands, okay, and Sun is in the 10th house of professional. So you're taking care of your homeland people through your profession, which is what? Politician. Which is what? Like working for as a government. It doesn't matter you're going to be a president or not. You can work as an attorney. You can work as a controller of the city. You can work as a district attorney. So you have those chances, but it shows somebody who's very confident, as a Sun in the 10th house, who's very bold, who's out there as a leader. But again, if there's negative aspect on the Sun, or Sun is in close conjunction with Ketu or Rahu, in the axis of Rahu Ketu, what is it doing? It's eclipsing the Sun. So what happens is, whenever it comes to the professional life, these people will be introverted. These people will shy away, low self-esteem, low confidence. So not always Sun is going to provide that area. This is why conjunction and aspects are always the most important thing in astrology to look for. Now let's say Jupiter. Jupiter goes into the 10th house. It shows a person who gets a reputation of a guru. They're well respected in their professional field. The people look on to them to gain knowledge. They don't try to gain knowledge. They're the one who give knowledge to people, because Jupiter is a natural significator of teaching, teachers, education, philosophy, divine knowledge. So, but here's another thing. Just because you have Jupiter in the 10th house doesn't mean you're going to become a teacher. You can become a lawyer as a Jupiter. You can become a financial advisor as a ascendant lord in the 10th house with Jupiter. But what it shows is that your reputation will be well respected. Like when you walk into your office, people will be like, "Yeah, this guy knows what he's doing," and you will have you yourself will provide that sensual love. You yourself will provide that true divine grace of a employer boss that you need to be. You will be that philosophical boss and teacher, somebody who takes you by the shoulder, and you'll be that person who takes somebody by the shoulder at their work and gives them an advice, just a one sentence advice that changes their life. I think it has happened to me. I don't remember now, but I do remember certain things from my bosses. They were like that Jupiterian person, and they took me, on the side and said things to me that, brought me to where I am. So things like that happen. You can become a teacher as Jupiter in the 10th house, if other things are supported, but what happens is that your entire life focus is about teaching other people. So you can become a consultant for financial institution, for law firm, anything. Wherever you're trying to give knowledge, that's how your reputation is going to be out in the world. Okay. Same thing with Mercury. If Mercury is in the 10th house, it shows that somebody. First of all, Mercury is a very business-minded planet. Mercury is your intellect, as in your logical thinking, your analytical thinking. Mercury is the accountant who keeps the money in check. So in the 10th house, it shows that Mercury loves communicating because of the fact it wants to share ideas and take ideas to increase their professional reputation. So Mercury in the 10th house can also represent a teacher, because Mercury is education. It's a significator of education. So you can be in the education environment, but mainly Mercury can show somebody who could be in marketing, somebody who could be in acting, because Mercury is a mimicking planet. You mimic through Mercury. Okay, but you can be a writer, you can be a teacher, you can be a businessman. Most of the time, it shows a businessman, person who's out there to really make that buck. Because see, Jupiter is your divine thinking. Jupiter says, forget the money, let's talk about Bhagavad Gita, okay, the Hindu holy book. Mercury is like the same way. He's like, all right, let's talk about ideas, let's talk about, higher knowledge, but let's talk about advanced mathematics. Let's talk about calculus. Let's talk about entrepreneurship, how we can make more money through ideas. Two of the planets that represents education, yet one is completely different than the other. So Mercury is in the 10th house is not more about giving like lectures and divine lectures, but they're all about, hey, how can we do this? How can we make this money? How can we get this business deal? So Mercury becomes a businessman in the 10th house. So you take Saturn. Saturn as the ascendant lord in the 8th house shows Because first of all, Saturn is what? Saturn is a natural malefic who's about delay, hard work, discipline, structure, organization. Okay, so when Saturn, your life force as a Saturn personality, as the ascendant lord, goes into the 10th house, these are one of those general type bosses. They take their work seriously. They'll be the last one to leave and the first one to be there. They expect the same from you. So what will happen in the professional sphere, if they become bosses, they're going to expect way more than the employees can actually give them. Someone like Steve Jobs, who would just go out and expect far more than what their employees would want. Why? Because, say, Steve Jobs' Saturn was in the 3rd house of teamwork. So he just took over things. He said, I want this now, and do it any way you have to. In the 10th house too, Saturn is law and order. Okay, so it shows somebody who's a judge, somebody who can be in police, somebody who can be in the law or government, because Saturn originally controls the 10th house, because it's the Capricorn that is the original 10th house ruler. So it shows somebody who's very strict about their work. Now, if you have Venus with Saturn in the 10th house, it can show somebody who's a very dedicated actor, somebody who can work, who can be in front of the camera for 18 hours doing the same scene, but until they get it perfect, they will not leave. So Saturn is very important. Although there's delay in your career, Saturn brings delay and frustration in career. But after the age of 35, 36, Saturn says, okay, your karmic debt is paid off. Let's have you climb the ladder of success. So that's what Saturn does in the 10th house. So this is why you have to see what planet is ruling what sign and what ascendant. I know I didn't go on every ascendant, which I will do later on, but I wanted to give you a strong perspective that when you have your ascendant lords in the 10th house, you will be devoted to your work. And when I do 10th lord in the 1st house, there will be a different story in that. But your entire life focus becomes about career. And like I said, you can either be married to your career, you can have brothers and sisters in your professional life, you can have a father figure in a professional life if Sun is in the 10th house. Let's say if your father died early on, you will find a father figure in professional life who will take over that duty of the father. So all of these scenarios have different energies in the 10th house. All right. So guys, this is my analysis of Ascendant Lord in the 10th house. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And if you want to know where your Ascendant Lord is placed and if it's in the 10th house or not, for that, check out the links below. Check out my books there, Astrology at the Speed of Light and Conjunctions at the Speed of Light. And when you get the book, I'll send you the link to look at your own chart. Just make sure you follow the directions below.